Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing one of the topic city creation. City creation basically is a topic of India economy. In India economy basically we are discussing one of the topic that is SBI, Amazon and earthquake going to happen after 2 days. So one of the person this in this basically we are discussing previous videos part basically. So in that basically we discussed that basically MBA group blood cells basically gets generated. And in that the MBA group blood cells basically get generated inside the body, and how basically that are basically generated. That is basically through MBA. Basically, the scientists basically might be knowing about the MBA, but lots of people says that the scientists are that much powerful that they can create uh, create MBA brain. That kind of scientists are also available in the market. They will say that basically we want. They basically got the requirement that I want some that kind of person basically who can think business level, finance level little bit, and he can basically handle the company. So they basically have the list of companies data, which power supply basically they are passing. So according to that they writes, and according to that the MBA books are prepared. So they basically have the experts basically for that, but they are connected with that group basically. They basically reads that book, how many books is written. Then basically they checks basically if you are reading these books, then basically what are the energy which is getting generated. This each and everything basically they checks. Then only basically they say that basically this book is approved. But after creation the books, you can't directly publish to the public. Why? Because physical place is required. That physical place of MBA basically, which is already designed by the scientist group basically. That scientist basically has already designed that MBA design. The area basically that is the MBA area of the city basically that is already designed by the scientist. That this way basically I have written, and this way through this chemical basically this is to create. So you can just imagine basically how the scientist group are basically. We can just think basically, but they are doing this practically basically. By thinking this basically it's very so complicated and basically how it's difficult to understand. But the scientist group basically that are the NASA group, ISRO group basically, they are doing that practically basically. You will not able to imagine basically. So the lava creation basically which is ongoing, the future creation. In future creation basically we have taken the example of Sunilar Nair. Sunilar Nair basically generation has ended. So that basically is written by the Mumbai basically. That are basically the Indian nationality. Because India basically is entire one is one basically. Because India is the Mumbai is the heart of city. So Mumbai is telling that basically we have finished Sunilar Nair generation. I'm just taking as an example. Basically. Otherwise, basically, I will take the example of any other person. Basically, then basically he will say that basically why you basically taken the example of mine. So that's why I'm taking the example of myself only. My generation basically ended. So like this, one of the person told that like this basically the Mumbai city has designed their lavas that are their projects that are the 1 lakh project basically which is ongoing, and in future basically they are going to design the projects that are in the form of the lava data. That is the basically you can say as a set of sand basically, and from that sand basically you are getting the power supply of data, and that power supply is the future projects basically. So one person told that the software company basically which they are going to do the project in the computer, that basically somebody basically might be doing the analysis na, basically Somewhere basically somebody might be doing the analysis, because directly basically he can't, the companies basically can't start the project basically. So there are lots of process basically behind before the company basically gets the projects. I have taken one example of CRM basically. So software company basically gets the data directly. For example, 18 ways of CRM basically was designed by set of groups. That idea basically was passed to the TCS company, and TCS company was the first company who told that basically that CRM project basically we have launched. But in really basically how CRM project was came basically, the manager basically thought that we have designed it. Basically. But really basically what happened? They basically got some content, that these all are the contents. According to that content, basically you think, whenever basically they are going to think, they are going to connect to this ways only. That is the 18 ways. So you can just imagine the scientist basically behind the brain creation, behind the ideas basically, how basically they exactly connects the 18 ideas. Each and every idea basically has not basically conflicting with each other also. For example, one person basically connected to one idea, so he will never connect to the other ideas. So that's very dangerous basically. So one person told that, like this basically the future projects basically are dumped into the lava data. In that basically the future child basically is, for example, one couple basically are sitting at the house, suddenly basically they connected with that power data basically, or basically in company basically both are basically working, they connected with the power data basically, they connected with the romantic mood basically, both basically connected, and then basically they had sexual activities, and then basically they, after certain days basically they got one child also basically. So that lava basically was dumped inside the land basically. That data basically connected to these people basically. So one person told that, do you have basically the list of basically future child basically which is going to come, that area basically, that the power company only might be having. They only might be having the data na, basically. That if you will dig this, sorry, if you will go to that power company, if you will go to that land area, and if you will debug the power data, you are going to generate child only, future childs. But here condition is, that person basically who is going to be become father or basically mother, they both basically should be physically perfect. Means Nasbandi might not have happened to you. So you can just imagine basically up to what level the world basically has reached. So future projects basically that are dumped inside the lava, and that data basically are taken by the power companies, and they basically give to the companies. But before company basically do the projects, lots of basically people basically do the lots of activities. So directly basically project software company basically never do the project. Why? Software company basically are not doctor. Software company basically are not judge. Software company basically are not chartered accountant. They are just designing the ideas in the computer basically. For example, chartered accountant group basically want one project. So the software industries basically are not the chartered accountant basically. They are dumping the ideas in the software basically. They are doing that basically. Lots of people say that ये तो chartered accountant बन गया है, but it's not like that basically. They are just dumping the ideas, because to become chartered accountant basically how it's very dangerous basically, how it's tough. So chartered accountant energy is also basically there basically, which is basically dumped in that. thousand cities, sorry, thousand buildings basically in the Bangalore basically, which is controlled by the Microsoft. So you can just imagine basically how Microsoft basically is creating the future data plus basically is earning the data basically. Whether the Microsoft basically is giving to the government basically and telling that basically you earn basically. But that basically Microsoft will never do basically because he is the businessman basically. So here basically we connected to how that CRM project. So software company basically never gets projects directly basically. Up to this level till now basically they have never got. But in future basically if they get then basically they have to think up to very dangerous level. They have to create the environment. And that basically they have to take the suggestion with some scientist and with the power companies and nuclear power companies, energy companies, because they are giving the power data. Basically. Without power data, basically your body is dumb. Basically, you are just a robot. Basically, data basically are coming into your body. According to that, basically you are behaving. So one of the person told that the future projects basically uh, are dumped into the lava data. That basically Sunila Mar tracked how, because he basically connected to the lava department and they told that basically Sunil, your the next generation to khatam ho gaya, your basic next generation is not there, your next generation is finished by certain group basically. And that also they told the time period also basically. And that also they told the place also that in Mumbai basically your next generation was ended, and Indian nationality basically ended your next generation. So in next video basically we are going to see little bit more about the topic, that is the future projects basically which are dumped into the lava which is inside the Mumbai land, which the companies basically are going to collect that project, and business development groups are basically going to give the project to companies. And in this basically they decide that they have decided that basically that which generation will be going to be into next generation and which generation basically they have ended. So in next video basically we are going to see that most dangerous topic, that is next generation. Whose next generation will go and whose next generation will not go.